What is up, Wizards fans? Welcome to another Believe in Wizards. I'm Matt Moderno. He's Jahadi White. Jahadi, it's media day. I've got a whole bunch of quotes here for you. I'm going to read them for folks, and we'll talk through them a little bit. But I guess the first question is, should we take anything that anybody says during media day at face value? Are these quotes meaningful at all?
Yes and no. Media day, I think the guys are happy to be on new teams and new teammates, and that's always from the jump feels good. It's everything is perfect till it's not. Not saying it won't be, but so it's the most optimistic day that you ever see with a team, right? And now they don't still know each other's personalities yet, really. The quirks, locker room demeanor, when passes may or may not go through, or shots are taken or not taken. You know how it goes. So yeah, it's the media day is usually the biggest kumbaya fest ever, and with media day, you have to see how sincere are the guys when they're as optimistic as they are. Great thing is most of these guys, like Jordan Poole, definitely sincere because he gets a refreshing new platform. He gets to hit the reset button in a great situation.
Yeah, I think for him, if you're trying to kind of rebrand your image and stuff like that after last year's, less successful season, I definitely think he's somebody that could really benefit for this. We'll get into the full scope of Media Day here in a minute. Before we get going, brought to you by Stateside Vodka and their Surfside Hard Iced Teas, Hard Lemonades. Also brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline is your number one source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, UFC, tennis, more, everything you can think of. You could probably bet on NBA preseason games if you are a real sicko and want to go do that. But BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games. Head to the website today and use our 50% off welcome bonus with our promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, let's get the bad news out of the way here first. I want to make this hopefully mostly optimistic show, but the team is a little banged up already. They've announced that Landry Shamet broke a toe, I think, during a pickup game. He should be out 2 to 4 weeks. Daniel Gafford fell during a pickup game, hurt one of his elbows. Doesn't need surgery, but should be out 2 to 4 weeks to let that heal and rest. And Deni Avdija only participated in a portion of their open training camp practice because he has some back tightness that's lingering a little bit. So he just couldn't do everything. I don't think that's as big a deal. But is this pretty common to come into camp? Guys haven't been going full bore maybe the last couple of weeks leading into camp, and it just, I don't know. Should we be worried about this? That 3 guys already nicked up, I guess.
I wouldn't be too worried about it. You got to understand, toward training camp, those few weeks before, that month before training camp, guys are doing the most, trying to make sure they're in tip-top shape to be the best they can be in training camp. The worst thing you can ever do to the NBA or to an organization is show up in training camp not ready to play, right? I mean, they kill, obviously they kill you if that's the case, usually.
Right.
A lot of organizations put it out there. So with that being said, in that process of getting there to try to get yourself in tip-top shape, you can't have certain, small things. Now, back situation, I'm not too concerned about that. That'll come, they'll loosen up, it's stiff back, that happens. As long as it's not something that continues and lasts. Those back situations, if they end up lasting a long time, it can affect your career.
You could be dealing with that all season potentially.
Now a toe, that's the only thing that's mostly my biggest concern. That's all about the healing process, all about the blood flow to that area to heal. And just with the foot, is so many small little joints, that has to be a patient thing where it has to heal correctly, or it's your foot. That's what you use to play on.
Yeah, especially if you're a guy like Shamet, you're running around screens and things like that. Like he needs that to be fully 100% to be fully effective. So
exactly,
definitely keep an eye on that one. Moving on to the more positive notes from Media Day, Jordan Poole said, quote, he's a big fan of Daniel Gafford and can see them having a James Harden, Clint Capella type relationship or potential in the future as a pick and roll duo. I think you've mentioned Capella specifically as a guy that we'd like to see Gafford try to get to. So if Poole sees that from him, maybe there's more there we can unlock. We talked about Russell Westbrook drawing in defenses and attention, and that opening up Gafford a little bit here too. So maybe having a running buddy like Poole in there that has faith in him will kind of help unlock him a little bit this year too.
It will. So when you got to have a guy like Poole come in, you have to study him.
Yeah.
Right. Gafford is going to be as good as he learns how Poole plays.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be as good as makes himself available when Poole's caught in situations, right?
Sure.
He's going to be as good as much as he plays in the sky when Poole throws up the oop, right?
Yep.
So one great thing about Gafford is he will run the floor. He can run with this team. He's not a big, slow big. He can get up and down. If he rim runs, no one can guard him, right? If he just goes through bodies, that's my biggest issue is he's going to have to go through bodies to be the player that Poole expects him to be. He can't hit a wall and fall down or hit a wall and stop, right? And if they can really teach him to accept more physical hits and go through more physical pressure, right? He can be, I don't know if he quite can be a Clint Capella, but he can be effective in this new scheme and in this unit. This entire team is raw. Gafford is raw, right? So I like that we do have a blank slate kind of players that have a lot. We have a lot to work with because we have the physical ability.
Sure.
We have the skills, but just so you just can build these guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think anybody that could benefit from the moves they made this offseason, it's Gafford. He doesn't have to play next to another big. Some of the defensive stuff with the bigger matchups, those are guys that everybody struggles with. But can he run the floor hard enough and make somebody like Embiid chase him all game to wear him down? Like, I think he can do those kinds of things where he's putting pressure on them on the other end, like you said, as a rim runner. And Poole also talked about, Poole said, I've always played the right way. I was never a me type of play style. Whatever is the next right play. If somebody's open because I was able to draw two, I'll get the ball off. You want to see other players succeed because you need everybody to be successful. To me, like, Gafford is the one who popped into mind when he said that quote of like, all right, if these guys are sticking with me, you better like run to the rim every single time and I'll throw the lob up there. And I laughed a little bit because I just remember Jordan Poole playing in Michigan, and he was definitely a me type of guy. If he touched the ball, it was going up. But that was, I think, the role they kind of wanted for him. But it was interesting to hear him talk about what a selfish or unselfish, team first guy he is. Like, I hope that's the case here in Washington, but I don't know if that's always the label I would have given him.
I was surprised to hear Poole say that myself. Now, I haven't seen that particular player,
sure,
but one thing I did like about him saying that is he kind of understands what they're expecting of him here, right? They're expect or what they're trying to build him into be, right? They're not saying that they're not expecting for him to get 30 some nights.
Sure. Make the right read, though.
Yeah. But they're expecting him to be a big facilitator as well. Get guys involved, right? Yeah. They sound like they're expecting him to be a penetrate and pitch type of guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So that's, to me, is good to see that's enlightening, that he knows, okay, he knows what the expectations are and what's the next level of what this team is for him to go to where he wants to go in this team.
Yep.
Now I don't know if he's good at that yet.
Sure.
But who cares?
Yeah, this is the year to find out.
As long as they can create grow him to be that player.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let him grow through all those kind of growing pains this season, and hopefully it pays dividends down the road. And they've talked about him being more on ball this year too. So I think that really is what they're telling him, and it sounds like he's hearing that message. Whether if they're 4-10 to start the season or something, if he still sticks to that, I think that's going to be like the real test. But I don't know. I never hate when guys are saying the right things early in the year here. Kuzma talked about playing with Jordan Poole and said they'll complement each other really well because they've both played off the ball with other, high usage, high volume guys. He also specifically mentioned they've been pieces next to Hall of Fame players. So they know how to be unselfish and they can do that. So I think they're excited about that. He said it's not a my turn, his turn type of situation. We can play throughout an ecosystem together and make it work. So I buy that for them. I think they're going to gel well. I think whether they're as good as any other two best players on any other team in the league, when your two best players at least kind of vibe, I feel like that's a way to be better than people expect you to be, at least.
Yeah, I'm still curious to see what type of tandem they would be.
Mm-hmm.
My experience with both players, especially Kuzma last year, which he really didn't have a choice or another option, was to create his own.
Yeah.
I've always seen Poole create his own.
Yep.
Right, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to me, that's a good thing to have on the team.
Yeah.
Right, but you don't want a Tatum to where they only can play with the ball in their hand. They don't really play off the ball well. Right, and it's tough when guys learn to be able to create on their own.
Mm-hmm.
Now to go back into playing off the ball type of player, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now that if to me, the person who needs to play off the ball more too would be Kuzma. Right.
Yeah, he needs some easier looks created for him.
Right. So if he can play off the ball more, I think that tandem will work well.
Yeah.
So, and I think he can play off the ball well, much more than Poole, because I felt like he only ended up. I haven't really seen him play on the ball at all until the Wizards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agreed.
So he's more naturally off the ball.
Yep. Yeah, I think we'll see his efficiency go back up if it's not, like they said openly last year, a lot of times they ran no plays for him. He just was like, here's the ball, go do your thing, and hopefully it works out. I think having more structure with him featured and them creating stuff for him, we'll see a more efficient player. And hopefully that's a better player. But they also talked a lot about playing fast. That was a very frequent theme in media day. That's something you and I have been talking about all summer is this team has to play that way to have a chance to be competitive. Wes Unseld said, I think we have the ability to play faster. We've got more shooting on the floor, which of course you've got to have more shooting. So that part is exciting. Shooting was another consistent theme. And it sounds like that was the blueprint that this organization, this new front office saw for the team. Play fast, be young, be scrappy, kind of like those OKC teams that overachieved a little bit, and just run people to death and spread the floor everywhere and make them guard you the whole width of the court. Like that seems to be the model. And that's really what they've built here. You bring in multiple good players. I think I stole this from a tweet from Chase Hughes, but they acquired 5 very good 3-point shooters. Tyus Jones was 37% last year. Poole hit 214 threes. Shamet was 38%. Gallinari was 38%. Muscala was 39%. And you have actual stretch bigs. I mean, Porzingis was a stretch big last year, obviously, but he was kind of the only one. So now you've got you could play Gallinari at the 4, Muscala at the 5, Kuzma at the 3 next to Poole and somebody else, Poole and Kispert. They might not guard anybody, but you've got 5 guys that you have to guard in every corner of the court. That's an interesting, fun team to watch, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah, absolutely. With Jones, Poole, Muscala, Shamet. I mean,
yeah.
Floor. It's very hard to stretch the floor, the guard to scout a team that can stretch.
Yeah.
Stretch the floor, right? Because that means that ball can just whip around the perimeter. You have to respect every player, right? Now you have a team that can run, especially if you get Gafford in the rim running.
Yep.
Team that can stretch the floor. You have 2 guys who can guarantee get downhill.
Mm-hmm.
right? Some great shooters, some great defenders, and then you still have some unicorns you haven't figured out yet. To me, which is
sure.
Coulibaly, right? And some good athletes.
Yeah.
This team could be something you can mold into something, because now you really don't have a lot of selfish personalities.
Yeah.
Right? It's all about what you instill. Right? This is some fresh minds that you can, and young.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You can really instill some culture with this crew.
Yeah.
Right? And my biggest question out of this crew still would be Gafford, what he can be, what he can be. I could see it.
Mm-hmm.
He has the potential.
Yeah. Will he get there?
Will he get there? Really get there to make this puzzle fit?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not. I don't think it's something overnight. Like I can say, well, everybody's optimistic, but I like the pieces we have. I like what they're trying to build, and we've seen teams like this when they finally get to where they need to be and hit on all cylinders. You'll end up having a Sacramento.
Yeah. I think that's what they're looking at, is those kinds of teams. Play young, play fast, run on everybody. We might not be the best defensive team in the league, but enjoy guarding us the full length of the court for the entire game. And
right.
That's why I would take the over with this group. I'm not crazy, and I'm not going to say they're going to win like 38 games or something like that, but 24 still just seems crazy low to me, given this. And at least it sounds like they want to play the way that seems to unlock their potential the best. I think this will be a big year for Wes Unseld Jr. The other news here,
I was just thinking that. Yeah. I mean, with this group, it really falls on the coaching staff as much as this is the type where if things don't start to build and create slowly, you see changes and you see certain cultures and you seeing certain things programmed in the players and certain things implemented and a regiment that the players really are following. It's going to be tough not to look back at that coaching staff.
Yeah, and this was another piece of news this week too, is that the Wizards are picking up the 4th-year option for next year on Wes Unseld Jr. And I think the people that were kind of anti-Wes were like, oh my gosh, that means we're guaranteeing him this year, next year. But this to me is simply, he's not a lame duck coach anymore this year. Like, Jahadi, you could speak to this a lot better than I can, but when a coach is at the end of a contract and has not been renewed, a lot of times the player is going to tune that out, because like, I will be here longer than you, most likely. It's a new front office. It's an incumbent coach, or the coach that was already here. If he didn't have a deal, at least for next year, I think that puts him in a really tough spot going into the season. So I don't think this guarantees we'll see Wes Unseld Jr. for the full next 2 seasons, but I think they give him a fair shake this year and evaluate in the offseason. And, that extension doesn't guarantee that they're going to keep him any longer term than that, in my opinion.
Yeah, but it also says they see something.
There's enough faith to want to try to work it out. I'm just saying that you're not locked into him for forever. If they really felt like that strongly, he'd have gotten more than a 1-year option picked up. Like, they're definitely still going to like see how he does. If it's a shit show, it doesn't mean he's definitely back next year.
Yeah, he's going to have to prove himself. But they did give him an extension enough to say, okay, he's I guess in the meetings with him and the staff, they see his concept and his system and what he wants to put in, right? And they like it. They believe in it for now.
Yeah, exactly. The proof will be in the pudding, though, at some point.
Yeah, true.
For anybody following along here and watching on the YouTube channel, there's the comment section there. So if you guys want to ask us any questions as we're going through this, feel free to do that. We'll answer them live as we're going through this. I'm just going to hit the rest of the media day stuff. Speaking about the shooting here and circling back, Mike Muscala said he really thinks that's going to be the strength of this team, is their shooting. And that's something that they've kind of fallen short. They've taken a lot less threes than most teams in the league the last couple of years. So at the very least, you can see like the inner workings of like the front office of trying to build toward a more modern team. And then Kuzma said this year we've got a lot of shooting. We've got a lot of exciting players. We've got a lot of players that can do a lot of different things on the court. I think it's going to be really entertaining. I agree with him. I think the versatility on this team is the other big thing here. You've got a lot of dudes that can play multiple positions and do different stuff. And I'm excited about that too.
My biggest concern right now, if I have to think about two things, two primary things for this team, it's rebounding. I don't see any rebounding presence in this team at all. And it would be defense, which to me, defense has nothing to do with the players.
It's all scheme at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care how everybody's athletes. It's about how much emphasis you put on how strong we're going to be defensively, how accountable you're going to hold them for not being strong defensively, right?
Yep.
So to
I
me,
think that's the biggest piece.
Right. Because we have offensive elements. I just don't, rebounding. I just feel like we're kind of weak at the rebounding area.
I totally agree.
Area, which to me is major.
Yeah.
It's major. That's because every team has to have second chance opportunities. You can't be a one and done, one shot and we're done.
Yep.
So rebounding is major unless we have a lot of athletes that can crash.
Sure.
But we just don't have a primary rebounding type of player, right?
Yep.
And so it's just rebounding defense to me. I think those are two things that really, really, really need to be up front, the upfront focuses, and then we can fill in everywhere else.
Yeah, I think you said it there, right? They have the pieces here to be a good, it's going to have to be a team thing, right? They're going to have to gang rebound essentially. But then if you're also a team that wants to be a fast breaking team, if you're sending everybody the defensive glass, that hurts your ability to leak out on stuff too.
But you're making my point.
Yeah,
you're making my point, right?
I'm fully agreeing with you.
A few primary rebounders,
yep,
right? Then you wouldn't have to resort to have an option. We have to crash just so we can get extra, right? But since I don't see that player in anybody. I don't see it in Muscala. I don't see it in Gafford, right? So I mean, to me, if I say who could be the biggest the leader in rebounding on this team this year, I say Kuzma.
I would too.
Which he should not be the guy who's a leading rebounder.
Yeah.
Right. So then that takes away all the elements that can make us into a modern team.
Yeah.
Because now we can't get down the floor.
Yep.
Right. So we're missing that major factor.
I think when you saw Gafford at his best, like I mentioned with the Westbrook piece, Westbrook did a lot of that defensive rebounding for him too. And it let Gafford just leak out down the floor. And somebody picked up the slack here and got 10 rebounds a game or whatever. Kuzma that year was a very good defensive rebounder. And, like you said, who picks up that slack? I guarantee you Tyus Jones isn't going to average 9 rebounds a game. So it's somebody's got to do something there. You really need Gafford to.
Only other person I can see who can be that guy, but I don't think he'll start off getting them the minutes to be that guy. Is Coulibaly.
Oh, Coulibaly.
Yeah. I've watched him enough to see how he goes toward the boards, how athletic he is, how he can be a great athletic rebounder. But then I don't see how he fits in the piece. I don't see him as a 5. You want him in,
he's the
try
wing.
To see,
he's the wing you want leaking out.
He'll more or less be a substitution for Kuzma.
Yeah, something like that. Deni is a guy for me that could pick up some rebounding slack here. He's a 6-7 per rebound per game kind of guy. And
True.
He's another guy that if he gets the rebound, he's also a competent enough ball handler to push the pace and make the right passes. So I think he's really going to be a guy they need to step up. And you and I have talked a good amount about who's the starting small forward with this team. That's maybe a case for why Deni should get some looks there, is he can kind of help out from that aspect of things. But if he doesn't shoot it, having him and Gafford out there together kills your spacing a little bit too. So there's a lot of these guys they need the full thing to come together here, but it's a step in the right direction still, I think, with trying to play that way.
But we have some pieces we still need to add, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. I think this final roster looks very different. Even by December or January would be my guess.
Yeah.
Speaking of Coulibaly, a couple interesting media day quotes about him. DeLon Wright said that Coulibaly really caught him by surprise in one of their pickup games because he closed out from the paint to block another unnamed player's 3-point shot. He wouldn't throw anybody under the bus and say who it was, but he closed down and definitely caught somebody. And a couple other guys mentioned that too. So I think that's a good sign that they're already seeing flashes from him, building some confidence in him, and at least in his ability to come in right away and play some defense.
If you have a basketball eye, you should be excited about him.
Right. Yeah.
The
tools are there.
Right. Yeah, now you could see that you're going to have to put some work in. You're going to have to put in some 9 to 5 hours to get him where you need him to be.
Yeah.
But if you have a basketball eye, you should be excited about him. Because he's a specimen of mode as far as just all the things that he can do. He can pretty much do everything in the game. And then he's his size, right? I think he's just raw.
Mm-hmm.
And, you got to unbaby giraffe him.
Right, exactly. Yeah, put some training wheels on him a little bit here early. Let him get his legs under him. Just more on Coulibaly. They asked him which players have been most helpful for him so far, and he said Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole moved Coulibaly's name on one of the lockers next to his, so he could take him under his wing this year and kind of mentor him. And that's something we've only really heard a lot about Kuzma doing for the younger guys the last couple of years. So that Poole has already kind of taken a leadership role on the team, especially with that like young franchise piece in Coulibaly. Like that's like my favorite thing that came out of media day was that little anecdote.
Yeah, I would like to see Poole's leadership qualities, right? Yeah. I'm very interested in what they could be because you don't know. But at the same time, that's good that you don't know. You might have something that you can be a dynamic leader, and this is the perfect situation for him to be there. And it seems what I like about Poole is he know exactly what they want.
Yeah,
and he's willing to not only go 100%, he's willing to give 110% to meet those criteria, right?
Mm-hmm.
And those expectations, right? And if you can pass, we all know Poole's game. It's dynamic. It's dynamic. First of all, to be able to go to the Warriors, play on the Warriors, and stick out like he did in major games and score against top competition. You know, when you're playing against the Warriors, you're getting every team's best night.
Mm-hmm.
And he was not only effective, he was very effective.
Yeah.
Right? So that's, first of all, that's
especially without Curry.
Right, without Curry.
Yeah.
That's a mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Before a skill.
Sure.
Before talent.
And he's got some killer in there.
Yeah. If he can pass that along, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you can also pass the trick, and he makes very good micro decisions, right? Yeah. Just because he double teamed doesn't mean he doesn't pass.
Yeah.
He may not pass it. What most people say, that's still get you 2 points and get to the basket.
Right.
Those are gems to learn.
Yeah. Yeah. Can he pass that to Coulibaly? Yeah.
Oh, man. And to be just coming over here as young as you are and being able to soak that up.
Mm-hmm.
Come on. You're lucky as a rookie or your first time, your first year, to even be able to soak something like that up against. If you notice, the best players always had that particular guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, somebody to kind of like shepherd them in the right direction, pick those things up. Somebody in your neck of the woods here in Missouri is Dennis Gates, the coach at Missouri. And one of the things he did for his college team was He told guys that if they got an open look where they actually caught the ball in rhythm, if they didn't shoot it, he was going to sit them down no matter what. They would get pulled if they didn't let it fly no matter what. And that team last year was one of the best shooting teams in the country. And guys took a huge, huge jump forward from their percentages the years before. I would love to see that kind of thing with this Wizards team. Like if you're Coulibaly, if you get a look, take it. I don't give a shit if you can make it right now. It needs to go up. And that should be the same thing for Deni. It should be the same thing for Corey. Like any of these younger guys, especially, empower them to pull the trigger on this stuff. And you'll live with the results for now.
True. I mean, that's what Mike Brown does.
Yeah.
Mike Brown. That's what Mike Brown does. I was just listening to who was I listening to? That said when they played for Mike Brown, he was the complete opposite way, right? Mm-hmm. And they can't believe now that's his philosophy.
Right. The old Cleveland teams were totally different.
He would sit me on the bench if we did it, you know.
Yeah.
But that's the way the game is now. And you have to have what that teaches is your players to be confident in big moments. Mm-hmm. Be comfortable in the big moments. It also makes it just out.
You froze up a little on me.
I said it also makes a team. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you.
It also makes a team hard to guard and hard to scout when everybody's confident to pull it, and everybody will pull the trigger.
Yep.
Right. It frees up the lane so well for your Kuzmas, for your Pools, for your Denis.
Yeah, with that Poole piece, like he's definitely not lacking from the confidence perspective. So if that transfers over from him, that's great. But the coaching staff can give that same confidence to these guys with that mindset as well. And like just that Missouri example, like those guys didn't get better. They didn't work on form. They weren't better shooters, but the confidence that they could shoot it freely, they never have to think about, do I get pulled if I miss this? Like they just got naturally better. Like of anyone on the team, I think Deni Avdija is the guy that could use that the most. Cause like playing next to Beal and some of these other guys the last couple of years, like if he just let it rip every time, even if they might have wanted to, you still have to think about like, shit, should I have given it to Beal and gotten out of the way, or Porzingis or whoever? This year's team, like there shouldn't be any of that. And I think you could see like a 3-4% jump from some of these guys without even major form changes. So
what's the purpose of getting all the shooters?
Right, exactly. Let them shoot.
What's the purpose of getting all the shooters if they're hesitant?
That's unbelievably well said. Like exactly right. Let them shoot. If that's what they do, let them do it.
Listen, we got this team full of shooters. We playing modern basketball. If you're not shooting, you're running.
Yeah, you should be.
I'm keeping a chart.
That's
of the shots you didn't take. That's how many sprints you run.
There was another example of this I always liked to at Kansas about 10 years ago at this point, but Brandon Rush on that national championship team. He was so unselfish that if he didn't shoot, Bill Self put him on a treadmill during practice and made him run until he was ready to come back out and shoot the ball more. Like I want that kind of mindset for this team. Let everything fly and just run people to death, push on everything. And they may not be very good this year, but it'd be fun. I mean, I don't know. We'll take that.
Well, it's just natural pressure. It ends up being natural pressure for teams.
Yeah.
Like you said, push and everything, right? Mm-hmm. That's hard to play against. That's hard to guard. And you'll find yourself not only in games, close games toward the end, you'll find yourself winning some games just because. And then what happens is people learn how to play in a system like that, right?
Yeah.
In a system like that, to the point to where, if the guy on the opposite side is pulling right away, we're crashing on the opposite side, right?
Yeah.
Right. Now you're playing like just technical, like basketball to like just with a feel, right? You're just playing it with a feel.
Yeah, not overthinking things. Like you're just reacting.
The guys without the balls are playing it with a feel.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what you need.
Okay. I know we're pulling the quick team. Right. So I know that pass. Oh, he's pulling that. Let me go ahead and react now.
Mm-hmm. I know when to crash. I know to yeah, exactly. I know to cut, or like that's huge. If it turns into Poole and Kuzma dribbling around and nobody moving around them, this team gets pretty shitty pretty quick, in my opinion. So not that you don't want that some possessions, but that can't be, the bulk of the offense. So hopefully they all recognize that. And it at least sounds like they do. We'll see what this looks like 20 games into the season.
All about the offense.
Yeah, I agree. This is not a team that's going to lead the league in defense, this year, but they also, like you said, they need to have that defensive accountability. Kind of speaking to that, Deni Avdija said he was really excited about forming a defensive wing duo with Coulibaly, who he praised for his size, length, and mobility, and said, I'm going to help him be better and know the stuff that I was struggling with as a rookie. I think when you have two players from an international background coming over, like Deni is probably the right guy to be able to say, like, this is what you can and should do right away. Like, let me mentor you now. And then he can take some ownership of some stuff and feel like a vet. At 22, he's the longest tenured Wizard, which is crazy to me to think about. But yeah, like, this is an opportunity for him to kind of show more and do more off the court too. And mentor him the way Kuzma tried to mentor him the last couple of years. Like, pay it forward. I really want to see that too.
He has that obligation now.
Yeah.
I mean, he's literally obligated to do that. You have to.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Not only that, he has to do it. You just can't say it.
Mm-hmm.
Because what happens? What happens is every NBA player will let you know if he starts showing us a little bit of shine. As long as it's great to do it, as long as it don't affect you. Yeah, you have to do it even if it affects you.
Yeah. If it takes 5 minutes. Yeah.
Right. So. It's cool to say, and it's easy to say.
Sure.
Until he becomes that guy.
Yeah.
Right? But then that's your job. Mm-hmm. That's your job. You're doing it for that reason. Right? Because it's about, is it about the team?
Mm-hmm. And if you're Deni, you're fighting for that extension or that next contract here or somewhere else. If you say those things and do those things, other people around the league will hear about that too. And if your role on the court is still a little questionable, if you can prove that you also have some additional value off the court, teams will definitely factor that in too. And I'm not saying he's doing this for selfish reasons or anything like that. I think he probably just wants to help his young teammate who he sees from a similar path. But I'm just saying there is intrinsic value of kind of doing that stuff too.
Right. That's what I say. First day of training camp, everybody's there. It's the biggest kumbaya moment, right? It's cool. It's the ultimate kumbaya, right? Mm-hmm. And you can tell I like when guys are saying the right thing.
Sure.
But it's all about, their actions. It's certain guys that like when I hear Poole saying things, I'm like, okay, he gets it, right? Yeah. Now, some other guys, okay, let me see if that's really the case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll know pretty soon. Like once they go on that first 4-game losing streak or something, like that's the test for these guys. Of everybody's chemistry can be good when everyone has the same record in the league.
That adversity set in.
Yep, exactly.
Now we know what we're dealing with. Now we know what we really need to fix.
Yep, for sure. 2 fan questions here, 2 listener questions. Actually, both from Evan Milberg. Shout out, Evan. These were 2 really good ones I thought were worth highlighting. Just talking about some of that same topic right there. We were talking about the Draymond Poole thing a little bit. And Evan asked, we often think of vets as 100% positive influences, but what happens to a basketball team when they aren't? Like when you have an older guy that's, not fitting in the locker room or isn't happy with not getting those minutes. How does that affect everybody else and the rest of that team, especially what happens on the court?
So it's a difference between a vet that's taking somebody on their wing and, like us guys say, we always need that vet on the team. They need a vet to bring back.
Yeah.
That type of vet is not playing a lot.
Sure.
His job is to be there to be a positive influence.
Mm-hmm.
It's the vet that's also the leading scorer, that's also the face of the team, face of the franchise. That's the one that can hurt a team more if he's not a positive influence, right?
Okay. Yeah,
so it's what that vet does. right? That vet can ruin the team or not, right? The vet that's there for that particular reason, he's always going to be good, right?
And you could cut that guy. He's a minimum guy too. So if he's being a dick, you let him go. It's not that doesn't hurt you.
He don't have the wherewithal to be a dick. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
He don't have the room to be a dick. That's what he knows what he's there for.
Yeah.
But that leader guy, type of he knows, right? And they can ruin the team.
There was that reporting earlier this week, I guess, that James Harden potentially had a max deal on the table from the Rockets. And then when he talked to Ime Udoka, he talked about wanting to get back to winning scoring titles. And Ime was like, nah, pass. We're good. Like, that's not the dude we want here. And, they're building some with young guys and they want to play the way we're talking about playing. And one dude coming in and dribbling the air out of the ball and scoring 35 a game like that, we're not feeling that.
Right. Exactly. You make it. That's exactly my point.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. Other question from Evan, sort of related to this a little bit here too, is how does the energy in the locker room shift when the team makes a big move right before training camp? Like in your case, you were there for the MJ, joining of the team. Like what's that dynamic like? Granted, this isn't the same thing as adding an MJ to the team, but there's a total roster overhaul.
That's not a big move. That's that's a historic, epic move. Like,
sending out Brad and Kuzma or Brad and KP is pretty big from current Wizard standards. It's not MJ. Nobody's MJ. But I mean, you've been there for a big move. What's that do to a team? Any kind of big move?
Right before what? Right before what? What'd you say?
Like right before season starts, or early.
If it's before season starts, you think about it, but once you get there, you rock with what you have, right? It's when season starts when that big move happens. That's more dynamic, and that can be more. It can hurt more, or can be more effective for the entire team, right? Before season starts, okay, yeah, you starting to work with somebody, and you thinking about every player's thinking about, okay, all right, my teammates, and you got to think about the primary scorer and how to try to get more out of yourself within working with him, right? But before the season starts, things happen, and it's the NBA. Things can happen. It's when that season starts to get underway, and then you lose your main player,
right?
Or you lose a big name, or somebody who's very effective to the organization and the offense and the scheme, right? That's when everybody goes look around, So that's
could be
more,
any of us. Yeah.
That's more intense.
Sure. Like for instance, if they start pretty well and Kuzma looks crazy good, and some team makes them a Godfather offer to get Kuzma and they trade him out, like that would send a pretty big shockwave through the locker room.
It'll rock the team.
Yeah.
Right. Especially if they don't know what they're getting back yet.
Yeah.
If you're not getting back anything that's worth it, that's certain guys, if they're thinking about their stats, they might be rubbing their hands together.
Right.
Yeah. But if you're thinking about winning, because you got to look at it like this: a season can be long, or a season can be fun. When the season's fun, it don't matter how long it is. You don't care.
Yeah.
When the season is just losing and miserable, it becomes, and that's a long season, right? And those are not seasons you remember, or you look back on. It was like you want those to be over with. So moving a major guy and not getting something that can really blend in to make you better, or we can go further with it, or because when you so as a player, it's all about, okay, man, we just lost a big player. Let's see what we get back. Yeah. And what you get back shows, it's going to be rebuilding season. Yeah. When you learn it's a rebuilding season, all bets are off.
Yep.
That's a long season.
Can you have a young team, like let's say with not a ton of like expectations of winning and still be a fun team? Like a couple of your Wizards teams, especially early, were when you were a younger group, like was that still a fun group to be a part of? Like I guess winning and fun don't always have to go together, right?
My second and third year, I think that was the funnest time I ever had in the NBA, just because of the guys.
Mm-hmm.
You mean you had Jawan, you had Rod Strickland, you had Mitch, you had Tracy Murray, you had Ben Wallace, Richard Hampton. That was we didn't win a lot, and we had a lot of talent.
You did, yeah.
We were a very talented team. We didn't win a lot, but the camaraderie and how close, I never ever seen the team that close knit ever again.
Gotcha.
Right. Everything we did together. It wasn't the front or the back of the bus. It was just the bus.
Yeah, that's huge.
You know? Yeah, and so yeah, you can have a great season, memorable season, just because not, winning is great, but it's camaraderie.
Mm. I think one of those moves may be showing togetherness in a slightly modern and unorthodox way. The Wizards held a fashion show the other night where all the players went out and strutted their stuff on the runway. I personally have never had something Wizard related I care about less seeing or hearing about as a topic. But to me, I also don't think this is a big deal. Like a lot of people on Wizards Twitter were kind of divided on this one of like, hey, you can do a fashion show when you win something. You're an unserious organization was one take. And then the other take was like, I kind of don't care about this. I kind of like the fact that they're doing shit together and everybody did it. It's like when you have the rookies get up and sing at the beginning of training camp or something. And, like it's at least there's some togetherness and everybody having to go out and dance at Midnight Madness, on a college team. Like it's something you did together. I also just do not give two shits about what their fashion statements are. So I was kind of just like, this is a non-story for me, and I kept it moving. How do you feel, and would you have participated in a fashion show with your teammates back in the day?
No, back in the day, it wouldn't have mattered. Back in the day, it would have been meaningless and stupid. Right. But now,
it's a big
you're
deal.
selling the NBA through different media formats, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Like now, the NBA, a lot of guys not watching the games, they're watching highlights on social media.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing now that came from the NBA is the fashion when they walk down, when they come to the games, right?
Yeah.
It's a fashion show now.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of NBA guys literally get up and say, hey, I have to put on a cool outfit.
They have personal stylists and everything.
Right.
And
we didn't care. We didn't coming to the games. It really wasn't about the cool outfit and see how much it's going to go viral.
Right.
So you have crazy fashionable guys on the Wizards like Kuzma. I mean, his fashion is to be, to be, you know what I'm saying?
He's out there.
And some people love it.
Yeah.
He's out there.
I'm not pulling that look off if I go into the office like that tomorrow, but he seems to be able to get away with it, and good for him.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't pull that look off anywhere, but as far as being a media organization, the NBA is a media organization. The Wizards is a media organization as well as a basketball organization. So many entities. Mm-hmm. That right there brings attention, brings some type of marketing to the city.
Yeah.
Right. So it sounds like a stupid event. It is a stupid event, but these days and time, it's for a reason.
If they're happy, I'm happy. That's how I looked at it. And I think, with
I don't even think Matt, I swear it's not for any camaraderie, not for any team bonding.
They seemed pretty into it, man. I'm telling you.
Because that's what it's about now. Yeah. But this is don't get it twisted. This is a marketing event.
Well, and that was the other thing I wondered too, is like these guys that do care about the fashion and stuff like that now, there are probably still some organizations that aren't as caught on to that. Like if you're a free agent that cares about that and you see Washington as a place where you can show that off a little bit, does that factor into decision-making down the road? I mean, I
Hell
would think
yeah.
so. Yeah.
Think about the best teams. So, and look at it. That goes viral every day. What LeBron's wearing, what AD's wearing,
Yeah.
what Tatum's wearing,
Mhm.
right? Oh, that's the Boston. That's right. So they're saying, okay, we're going to put if we want to be in that level, we have to play the game.
Yep.
Fashion show.
Cool. Boom. Done.
Damn.
Yeah. I'm 35, but I feel like I'm going on 50 sometimes. So I'm the old man typically that, shakes fist at cloud with a lot of this stuff. But this one, I was just like, whatever, man. I don't even give a shit. Like I'll care once I have to care. And the Wizards have tried to be kind of ahead of some trends. They've been big on the gaming. They're ahead of the curve on the gambling. This just seems like another avenue to me, like you said, where, hey, they're doing some marketing here.
Like you said, man, the organization now comes, it's a lot of guys who came from a lot of, there's going to be a lot of new ideas, a lot of new marketing ideas, and the whole point is to shake it up. The whole point is to be different. The whole point is to go to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
Fashion show.
Boom.
Bam.
Boom. I love it. The one time I want to see a fashion show is at their championship parade in 2 seasons from now. Like, you guys wear all the crazy shit you want when we're winning.
Let them have a fashion show.
Fair enough. All right. Fashion show it is.
Acting older than me.
I'm
calling you Papa Matt.
I love it, man. I had been the middle ground, I think, of the two perspectives on the Wizards fan base here on this one. Like, I don't care, but also I'm also not going to sit and watch it. That's all I'm saying.
I'm not either.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Right.
But it's for a specific audience, but it's for a grand audience.
That's true. Yeah.
It's for the youth.
Yep. There you go. It's a new world. That's all. All right, Johnny, I think that's all I got for you this week. Anything else you want to touch on or talk about before we get out of here?
No, I'm good, man. I'm good.
All right. Well, I think we'll start to see some more stuff from on-court practices. The only other one that was a little concerning, saw some footage of Johnny Davis shooting some threes at practice the other day. Form looked kind of wonky again after we'd seen it cleaned up a little bit over Summer League. So I don't know what's going on there. That's a mess. I've been trying to be on the Johnny Davis bandwagon here, but this seems like more like Markelle Fultz-ish to me almost, we're screwing with stuff too much now. And I think it's in his head, and hopefully that was just one bad clip.
You gotta change the form. In the day, it's only one form that works. I mean, it's not the Sean Marion days. Like, you changing the Melo. You had to change the Melo. Was LaMelo? What's one of the balls?
Well, LaMelo, yeah, he had the two-handed push shot for most of his.
Who the one shot from the one side of
Lonzo was the one that was.
You had to change Lonzo's shot. It's any wonky shot is going to be inconsistent no matter what.
It was.
Even if you had to be surgical about it, you have to change it.
It was okay-ish looking in college, but didn't go in a lot. It got really wonky last year, and it went even less. It started to look better during Summer League and went in a little bit more, and now it looks even more crazy extreme again. Like, you're talking about one form that works. I tell you what doesn't work is your knees bowed in and touching in the middle when you're shooting a three-pointer. There's no one on earth that could make that work. I can promise you Steph Curry is not hitting wide open threes with his knees touching.
Making that shot is bow.
He's got 6 feet of knees, so he's got to put them somewhere.
Right.
So I don't know. That's just something I'm looking forward to more footage of, and I want to see that in one of these open practices and get a sense for what that looks like. They have an open practice on tomorrow, Friday afternoon. Half of it's open to the media. I'm debating going to that, honestly, just because I want to see guys like that, and I typically don't show up to those things in the preseason, but that one might be able to tell us a little bit here. So I'll see if I can make it out and if we can learn anything from it.
All right, perfect.
All right, everybody. That's Believe in Wizards. You know the drill. Rate, review, subscribe, all that good stuff. Also, if you like what you hear on the show and you like the fact that this reaches a pretty good audience and you want to like sponsor the show or want to do a presenting segment featured by whatever company X is called or something, reach out to us. Let us know. Happy to take on any presenting sponsors. We'll come up with your own segment for you. We can do that kind of stuff. So, check us out. We'll see what we get going. All right, everybody. Believe in Wizards presented by betonline.ag. We catch y'all next time.